Hi, everyone. Welcome to this month's version of your Daily 5. I am your host, Mish Schneider, and we are absolutely in a state in the market where we've been so range bound, and it's been very difficult to navigate because the real big question here is, are we heading for a much bigger meltdown, which would include the commodities because we go into more of a liquidity crisis with the major fear here of higher rates? Or is this going to be another opportunity when things look the bleakest? The Fed rolls back their strong calls for a 0.5% to 0.75% raise in rates on the next meeting in May. And we have a great opportunity to buy everything, including commodities, against these yearly lows. That's what's making this so tough. So I thought at least I would give you somewhat of a watch list. And I say here that I have 5 stocks, and that is true. We're going to look at 5 stocks, but I added one other, which isn't a stock, it's a protection through volatility. So here's the list of what I want to go through now. And you can see that we're kind of like commodity-based picks and also cryptocurrency, because if there's anything that's going to hold up here, it could be the cryptocurrency. So let's go to the charts. So I want to start with BITO. Some people say BITO. It doesn't matter, tomato. It really all means the same thing. It's the Bitcoin strategy ETF. So it has pure exposure to Bitcoin, which at time of recording right now just broke back down under 40,000. But at the same time, is holding that classic 38,000. And if you look at the chart, this is why I'm still interested, not long, but interested in that we have a low, a higher low, and a higher low. So that tells me that right now, if we look just at this low right here at 24.38, if that breaks down, then we're breaking the pattern of having these 3 higher lows, in which case I would probably just stay away and see what happens when we get closer, let's say, to this low that we had in January at 2090. That's a pretty big move down. That would probably put Bitcoin closer to about 30,000. However, if we do manage to hold this here, by the way, we don't have real motion indicator because obviously we don't have enough information here. It hasn't been around long enough to give us these moving averages, but we're certainly not showing any leadership against the SPY. So the whole notion of Bitcoin being different than a basic risk off or risk on asset is not so far proving itself. This is definitely corresponding with the pressure in the market. So if it's going to separate itself from that, the first thing we would have to do is get back up here to about 25.75. And more importantly, it would have to take out this 50-day moving average and also start to at least show some on par performance in terms of leadership with the SPY. But I'm keeping this on my radar for now. The next one had a bunch of good news on it, which is MP, Mountain Pass. I think I have talked to you about this before. This is mining. This is mining that's absolutely essential if we're going to do any kind of clean energy, alt energy. And of course, it is interesting that I'd be talking to you today on Earth Day. But right now, with even all the good news and the attempt for the U.S. to go more independent on mining these rare earth minerals, we've seen a dramatic move down following the market. We also have really actually pretty horrendous leadership against the SPY, and in real motion you can see the momentum is just horrible. So the reason why I'm putting this up though is this has come through the 200-day moving average several times here. And then once it clears back up and takes a good chart point out, you get a nice rally. It happened here, then we broke, and then it happened here. Never broke the 200 here, and then it happened here. So now here we have our 200 at 40.23. This might be an interesting opportunity to look at a mean reversion trade. This is where the ACP plugin is so key. Right now, we're under the Bollinger Band. If this gets back through the Bollinger Band, and here's your Bollinger Band in price, and we can wind up getting back through there, maybe you would have a low risk trade against the 200. Otherwise, I would stand out of its way to see if it either does what it did here, which is never quite get down to the 200. Then the next day it has a doji day and then boom, a candle up, or it breaks down and then comes back through. But I would definitely say longer term, this still looks interesting. I decided to put a cannabis stock here. Now, right now, this is under everything, but you did have a good, interesting low here at 478. It actually reported earnings better than expected. And now with legalization in, let's say, my state, New Mexico, where pot sales have been robust, New Jersey, which happened yesterday, where sales were very robust, it really becomes a question of at what point does the federal government say, you know what, we're going to make banking, interstate banking legal. And so right now, all we're getting here is an inside day with a green day on a red day in the indices. Not much of a signal here at this point, but I would keep my eye very carefully on this momentum indicator. If we can get back over the 50, hold today's range, and as we go into next week, get back over, let's say, 560, 570, you've got a pretty good tight risk to see if this has some momentum. The next one also has to do with alt energy, and this is ChargePoint Holdings. Now, this is another one where it's obviously under pressure. Momentum is not too bad. So if we got a push in momentum and we managed to hold this sort of levels of support here around 14, and we could get our way back up over the 50-day moving average, that would be another one that I would look at also because it's in a good mega trend. And then the next one kind of like that here is something I talk about over and over again, which is Beyond Meat. Now, what makes Beyond Meat so interesting is that it's gotten more and more mainstream. As food gets more expensive, people are turning more to, like, instead of getting a hamburger that costs you $15, buying a Beyond Burger that may cost you only $10. Still expensive, but not as. Had a nice bottom here. 35, really, 35.50 is kind of your max pain. But I would wait with an inside day forming. I would like to see, first of all, this clear the 50 in momentum. That would make me very excited. And I would also like to see this clear 40.80, whether it's today as I'm talking to you or next week. And then I think, if you can get like a $5 risk in this type of stock, can you make $10 in this? This is one of those things that's so heavily shorted right now, it might actually work out. And finally, for the protection purposes, I'm going to show you VIX. Now, what makes VIX so fascinating to me is a few things. Number one, it is outperforming the SPY. It is above the moving averages in the momentum. But the most fascinating thing here is the convergence, and you don't have a 10 here, but the 10 is coming in well as well. The fast moving average is you had the golden cross when the 50 crossed over the 200. This is holding the 200 here. As I'm speaking to you, it's trying to clear the 50-day moving average. And considering how the market is melting down, this is still overall complacency that's happening here with no volume. So this is the kind of thing that you could put on a little bit of protection, probably risk to, let's say, under 23.50 if you're wrong. And if you're right, you can actually add to this position once it clears back over 25.50 to 26. So I hope that helps you out in terms of a plan going forward. As I said, be very wary of things right now because the market is definitely having some struggles, but at the same time, it's always good to have something on your radar. That's it for now. Thanks so much for watching. You all have a great weekend, and bye for now.
Hey, Grayson Rose here with StockCharts. Thank you so much for watching. I hope you enjoyed that video. If you did, consider giving it a like down below, maybe leave us a comment, and if you're new to the channel, you can subscribe at the link up above. We're gonna bring you daily content from an incredible collection of technical analysts and financial experts.